Hey, so Infinity Ward have really stirred up the more vocal community on this one. Here, have a look for yourself.
We also have improved 3D directionality, which is really helpful if you're trying to, hunt people by footsteps and get the surprise on them as they come around a corner.
But before we get into my personal take, which is very different from the majority of complaints I've heard, let's actually get into those complaints I've heard and perhaps deconstruct them too. So I've seen a lot of people pretty disappointed with Infinity Ward over this, especially after voicing this complaint a whole year during MWII. These people are getting more frustrated because they feel unheard. Obviously, I can relate. I've told devs and I've made videos complaining about the uncanny cartoony skins plaguing modern Call of Duty universes. Seems like a lot of people agree with me too, even though we're still ignored, or so it seems. But with Footsteps, they're obviously a design decision, not an artistic one visually. While yes, it does seem like the majority of players want footstep volume reduced, I think players are forgetting a few crucial design decisions that could influence playstyles a lot more than sound whoring in a corner can. Number 1, the maps. They are allegedly smaller and more simplistic than a few of MW19's. They got more variety than COD World War II's from what I've seen at least, with the Farm 18 intel drops. But what do I mean by the maps? Well, when the maps are too porous, when they have too many flank routes and too many corners with crevices, sound whoring becomes too effective, especially with smaller FOVs. You're just not able to check every angle before crossing the street on Piccadilly, unlike Grozna Raid's streets. You guys might recall this street from that one popular video that blew up. But unlike the message of that video, I'm going to show you guys how to actually cross the street. Usually on Grozna Raid, people are grouped up either on the 2nd story hotel or the 2-story tire shop. For this actual live example in a real match, I'm moving towards the hotel spawn. Unlike this bimbo, I'm going to use this big dumpster as cover to check the power positions out before crossing. And because I know the map, I know the likely positions people will be in and the possible positions they'll be in, which are different. As you can see, my teammate just died up here, but as you can see here, my dumpster has a perfect head glitch if I needed it to fight back. Also, if I rush forward, this brick wall provides enough cover. And in fact, looking down the street right now, there are not 20 windows. There's only 2. And one of them I won't even need to worry about, as it can't even see me somewhat past this dumpster. As I also cross the street, that overhead pipe and the other buildings become an obstruction, aka people in that window will no longer have a line of sight on me. And as I press play, I want you guys to remember a very important fact the one Boom pointed out during MW19. A map is always in motion. That's what makes certain flank routes like this a viable option. If I had no teammates that flanked the other hotel on the left, this would have been a more dangerous move. The ultimate weapon is actually in fact team. Also, if you notice, there's actually an enemy here in this window. Fortunately, my teammate was fighting him from the staircase in construction, and I did use that brick wall as cover. However, I think this actually is a prime example of when a minimap can hurt its user. The area it covers in MW19 is just way too small. I honestly had no idea my teammate was in construction, nor if they were on the top or bottom floor. I could only see that they were in construction once I was halfway across the street, and that's no good. We need to process this info from afar, and not in the heat of a potential close quarters gunfight. Watch my red dot controversy, the compass adds a skill gap video for more on this topic. But in the end, MW2 maps that are even more simplistic than Grozna Raid are going to be a walk in the park to traverse. If you think Shoot House is a good map, you should know that more simplistic environments help rushing. Sound whoring or not, rushing was a viable option in Shoot House due to its design. Number 2 for what design philosophies can influence gameplay styles a lot more than sound whoring. Field of view. So MW19 didn't have a field of view slider, while Black Ops Cold War and Vanguard did. People for the most part will increase their FOV when possible for the most competitive advantages. That is an unarguable fact. You might say, but Mattsuki, it's hard to see people in the distance with a larger FOV, so it's balanced if a player wants to use a lower FOV because trade-offs. I'm actually going to call that out. You cannot tell me that that is an equal trade-off. You just can't. We're talking about low FOVs that cannot see a player in close quarter ranges versus a large FOV that can see those players as soon as they enter a room. No turning their heads required. At ranges though, snipers have flashing glint. You will notice a flickering light with any FOV as long as it is on your screen. As for raid guns with low zoom scopes at ranges, they gotta hit multiple shots at the highest damage range. There's usually 3 damage ranges, and the farthest usually requires like 2 to 4 extra shots to kill, making the TTK longer. And oh, they have to manage recoil at a long range too. so they're bound to miss a couple more shots. We're actually comparing, oh, I might not see a red gunner at range that I could easily avoid if I get shot at, to I'm getting milted in close quarters by someone I literally cannot see, even if I tried. So FOV is going to be a big help in MW2 when it comes to close quarters campers. The slider isn't confirmed yet, but it is bound to be in the next gen COD, especially after Black Ops Cold War and Vanguard had it. And number 3, the radar. Another feature that hasn't been confirmed, but I would honestly be surprised if it wasn't in MW2 at least as a perk. I could see IW devs making radar as a perk, as that is the compromisable route between people begging for the return of classic red dots and what MW19 was at its core. I think MW19's design philosophies will still hold a lot of weight in MW2, as MW19 was easily a COD that revived the franchise. They might want to continue off of its success. But yeah, the red dot radar would help a tiny bit with, lack of a better term, dumb campers. I say dumb because the camping playstyle primarily takes place inside buildings where the damage ranges aren't a worry. A normal suppressor decreases your damage ranges at the cost of allowing you to play stealthily. It's a no-brainer move to use a suppressor on any camping class. With that said, hopefully the monolithic suppressor from MW19 is scrapped in MW2. Range benefits on a suppressor was a counterintuitive idea. I thought I'd at least bring this radar feature up though, as a lot of people seem to think it'll magically fix COD. Just ignore the facts that people can work around the radar and still not be punished. So if someone just happens to be camping in a building while shooting an unsuppressed gun, you would know that they are camping in there and you can take them out. Loud footsteps or not, you know where they are. Now, it's time to get into the juicy shiz, the meat and potatoes of the video. My fix for loud footsteps and what I hope to achieve with the changes I'd make. Let's get into the crafting. I actually love the idea of hunting players' footsteps. I feel that while giving players an equal opportunity to hear each other when rushing, also gives the devs a whole new space of wiggle room when constructing maps too. Not a map such as Piccadilly, but more maps like Grozny Raid, Tausig Backlot, and Hackney Yard. Even Fortnite is a prime example of hunting players' footsteps. You can hear people in that game so much farther away than in MW19. Plus, there's visual audio for Pete's sake. Also, to be clear, I disagree with this half of the Intel drop quote.
And get the surprise on them as they come around a corner.
Why? Well, because it just screams camp to win. I mean, I'll pretend he just means getting the surprise on headless rushers. Hopefully the map design helps the rushing playstyle, but here's my ultimate fix for hunting footsteps in a pro rusher friendly way.
We're in the lead, you are a bunch of top blokes.
We have heightened senses. Getting closer to the ground will increase the range of player detection, but I want it reversed. Instead of out camping footsteps in cheeky crouched or prone positions, moving around will be the new tasteful way to detect other players through your headset. You should only hear others while moving yourself, because if two players are moving, that'll lead to a very competitive gun skill-based fight. On the other hand, campers sitting still or crouched in a corner shouldn't hear people through walls at all, and the closer they are to the ground should dampen footstep audio even more. Here's a quick rundown for what I mean by that. Standing still should only let you hear players in your line of sight. Crouching should be the same, except crouching will reduce the radius you can hear footsteps at, and the prone position should reduce it even more. The opposite can be said for walking at a full speed, running, and tech sprinting. Walking will grant you a less effective MW19 and Warzone footstep awareness. You might still hear players through walls, but it's harder to hear. Running, on the other hand, makes it easier to hear footsteps through walls. And finally, we have tech sprinting, which is essentially equivalent to MW and Warzone's footstep audio range. I think allowing the attack sprint to have the best footstep volume detection gives the player enough time to get out of attack sprint before entering a gunfight. Think back to MW in 2019. How many times did you accidentally attack sprint around a corner into an enemy and didn't have enough time to ready your gun? That was due to the slower attack sprint to fire speed. Now with my fix in play, you'll hear footsteps at a longer range when attack sprinting, so you'll have enough time to stop, readjust your position, then go in for the kill. Another change to footsteps that I had was hearing them above you, and not a floor below you. This is purely to help identify second story building occupants. Using St. Petrograd would be the perfect example. The power position windows, in my opinion, granted a little bit too much power, with too little easy ways to push them. Claymores played a big big factor in that too, but the ability to hear players below you was a clear giveaway someone was in your house. Let the underdogs downstairs have the drop on the people above. This is the law of equivalent exchange after all. Maps need to have flow. And lastly, we have the bush campers. My fix to stop them from being so damn annoying was in my previous Intel drop video that should be appearing on the screen right now. My name is Mattsuki. I hope you enjoyed enough to like this video and subscribe. Enjoy this sexy beast of a video, and peace out, homies. Oh, and obviously, let me know in the comments what you thought of it. Thank you. Bye. No one was harmed in the making of this program.